2Country Radio.
Find us on Facebook and Twitter. We play more music every hour, every day. 2Country Radio. Turn on, tune in.
Kip, thanks so much for talking to us.
Very welcome.
It's been, as you said, a year and 2 months since we last had a conversation.
Since I last was in this amazing place, yeah.
Welcome back to United Kingdom.
So good to be here.
In the country a couple of days?
I got here yesterday around like 2 o'clock.
So you're still jet lagged?
A little bit, man. I went to bed, fell asleep at I didn't sleep any on the plane. I fell asleep at about 12 o'clock last night. Woke up at 3 o'clock wide awake till about 6 in the morning. So, I mean, I'm still a little adjusted.
Do you know, I find it really easy to go to the States and we land and you kind of stay up a bit longer, but you're straight into the real world.
Coming back.
Coming back to the United Kingdom is horrendous. I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't.
We just did Australia, and that messed me up for about 4 or 5 days, where I was just exhausted.
Because that really does turn you upside down.
Whew, man, that's a long flight. From leaving Nashville, the total, it was probably 18 hours. So, I mean, that was a brutal flight.
And then when you land, the world's upside down.
Oh, man.
Night and all that.
Yeah, it was tough.
Good? Was it a good run, Australia?
Amazing. The record went number 1 over there for a little bit after, and the connection we had was the same as here. It's a special thing what's happening with this Wild Ones record. It's spreading like wildfire.
It really has, isn't it? It's been a sort of when we last spoke to you, it was just before you were ready to sort of give details.
And it's been kind of this underground thing. It hasn't rendered any of the commercial success that Up All Night has, but yet it's doubled and tripled our fan base in size. So that's a pretty special thing, especially with all the pushback that I had making this record, because it sounded so different than the Up All Night record, and the fear of where are you going, what are you doing, this isn't what made you successful, but it still was me, but it was a departure. And this next project that I'm working on now is going to be different than both of those two. I never want to make the same record twice.
That's interesting, because it must, for some people, kind of that comfort zone.
Oh, yeah. Well, that you end up getting a lot of people's records, and it's just the same exact thing over and over, the same sounds, the same topics, the same... And that's fine, that works for a lot of people. It's just not what works for me creatively. I can't live in that land. I have to constantly change and evolve.
So how did Wild Ones come about?
Well, Wild Ones came about from after the initial follow-up project was shelved, and I knew it was going to be a while before I was going to be able to put that out because the single died. And there was no way that I was going to stop writing, so I continued to write, and I actually wrote myself out of the dark place that I was in mentally during that time, and continued to record music. And during those several months that was the wait, the music that I was writing was a lot different than what got shelved, and I actually had moved on mentally from the first project, and I was more connected with the new one, which was eventually Wild Ones. So, it just, that's what I wanted to go with, and it's ended up being a true blessing for me in disguise, because the reaction to this record has been truly amazing on the road.
And it's kind of rolling on, isn't it? It went to 2 in the States, 5 in Canada, and you said number 1 in...
Yeah, I mean, I think it briefly hit 1 for a little bit in Australia, and I know it's been doing well in the UK over here, so... Yeah, I mean, it's just... It's a record that my fan base has, and it hasn't sold as many copies as Up All Night, because Up All Night had the massive commercial appeal to where people that weren't necessarily fans heard a particular song on the radio and got it. But my whole entire fan base, underground, all have this record, and this is, and it might end up taking off commercially like the other one if a big radio hit happens. But it's just yet to kind of render that. But I mean, you got a song like That Was Us that's yet to ever be played on the radio, and you would think it's a 5-week number 1 when we play it live. I mean, it's the biggest song we have live, period.
It's a terrific song, I have to say. Sort of. And I'll play it. I'm quite happy to play it for you.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, the album. Do you have a favourite tune on the album?
On the Wild Ones record?
Yeah.
I would say That Was Us.
Yeah?
I would say That Was Us and Come and Get It are my 2 favorite to play.
Oh, I love Come and Get It.
On that one.
That's a hooky tune.
Yeah, I love that one. I love Heart's Desire. Lyrically, that's my favorite. That was written from a very, very vulnerable place. And that was one of the most dark places that I'd ever been mentally was during that time when I wrote that song. I'd probably written 4 different lyrics over the top of that melody long before I settled on what eventually became Heart's Desire. I never could match I never could match the intensity with the lyric to the musical intensity. And it hit me one night, everything that I've been feeling. And it was about as an open canvas as I could possibly do.
That's what your music does, is it? It kind of does.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to always be true to myself in what I'm writing, and not let people steer me into what I should be writing or what other people are writing about.
I was told I'm to Blame was, again, quite a good person.
Yeah, I was just pissed off that day when I wrote it. I was just kind of mad about a few things that were going on personally and musically, and that was just me just kind of shouting out as we were, recording, as I was writing the music. It was just kind of me and Weston Davis. We write really well together, and we're fast together, and that was just us playing off of each other because I think we were both pissed off.
So do you have to get into that place to write songs?
I definitely feel like I can be somewhat of a tormented soul at times. I feel like some of my best lyrical stuff comes from that place, but at the same time, I've definitely been in a better place mentally lately, and I'm writing some of the best stuff I've ever written for this new project. And it's definitely, this new project definitely has a more of a feel good. Even though the first one, the Wild Ones record, people are shouting and having a good time with it, it's still kind of a heavy record. Even like That Was Us.
Yeah.
It's a heavy topic. It's a heavy sounding song. Even though it's fun to sing, but this new project I've been working on has a little more of a lighthearted feel to it.
When can we expect to see that one, Kip?
Hopefully soon.
Okay. Is it going to be another one of those years?
Nope.
You can't tell me too much about it.
It will not. It will not be a long wait like the Wild Ones record was. I think that the team of people have finally seen what I've been seeing for so long that's been happening underground. I think sometimes it's hard for them to know that when they're not out there in the trenches with me. But now that they've all kind of gotten out and seen what's happening with the crowds, they understand that it's a very rabid fan base, and I got to get product to them.
How do you? That was going to be one of my questions. You spend a lot of time on the road. How do you get to write songs when you're on the road?
Man, it's tough. And I was talking about it in an interview earlier, how much it can be a detriment to my personal life because I never stop. I get off the road and. I got 2 or 3 days off, and I'm in the studio writing and recording, and other parts of my life end up suffering. But it's what I choose to do right now. Yeah,
it's kind of, so you're not getting to surf. I saw you on a motorcycle the other day, Indian motorcycle.
I get to do that every now and then. I've got an Indian Scout that I've got kind of tricked out, and man, that's a fun bike, man.
It's a nice
God, it's a fun bike.
Yeah.
Finally, I had on the other Indian it was just a single seat, and I finally put me a little extra seat on there in case Red wants to go ride with me.
Have you got it here in the UK?
Yeah.
We'll go for a ride.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of those in the UK, but it's just not practical at all. But it's a lovely machine.
It's a sweet bike. It's the best handling bike you could imagine.
My first bike was an AJS 500 single pot, and it's like
to
kick over.
This one's not, man. This one, whew, and I've always loved Harleys. I've had, I drove a Softail for a while, but man, you get on one of those Indians, man, it's like a whole nother world opens,
Yeah, you're making me really. I'm gonna have to come and ride it.
I tell you, it's something, man. I had my buddy Manny that plays bass for me. He's been riding motorcycles forever, and he's got a bunch of different bikes, and he got to ride it the other day, and he was just like, "That's the most fun bike I've ever stepped on, man. It's just everything about it, the way it handles, the way it feels. It's awesome."
It's different to driving a car, isn't it? That's for sure.
Oh yeah, you see things a whole lot different. You notice everything around you.
Yeah.
And you better be paying attention to everything around you, or you'll be,
in a different world again.
Yes, yeah.
You're over here to do these five.
I think five.
Yeah. And we do a thing on our radio station called the Tuesday Takeover, which basically is the last hour of the show is just not planned at all. People just sent tweets asking for songs. Yesterday went absolutely crazy.
Good.
One of the guys said, "I wonder, what's happened to you? Everybody knows you're in the country. Everybody's excited about seeing you. What can we expect, Kip?"
Oh man, I never know what to say. I had a running thing for a while, just joking around when somebody would ask me what to expect from my show, I'd say mediocrity at best. But,
I think so.
I never know how to describe my show. All I can ever promise is that you'll get passion. That's all I can ever promise. I love what I do, and I think that oozes out with all of us every time we play, and I think that's what's enabled us to grow the fan base like we have. Like I said, with going with such a long drought of really having the radio success, our live show has given us the strength to grow this fan base and continue to make it strong.
The live stuff is where it really shows.
I think that's where people really make a connection with me, and I hope to capture that on a record one day. That's what we are. What I am is an artist. And I'm always striving for that. With making a record, but I think this Wild Wind record captured it even better than the Up All Night record did. But I think that's when people go to a show, I feel like we have them.
I think when people come out of your shows, that is when they buy the album.
That's when they go get the record.
Yeah.
We see a direct, I got people that look at the numbers on that, and we see a direct correlation with every city we go to. The minute we leave, there's a spike.
Yeah, that really does not surprise me. I've just thought about it here, but it doesn't surprise me. Because following Country to Country last year, where, let's be honest, you were relatively unknown, but for that moment you owned the crowd, you owned the place.
Yeah, and we saw the numbers the Up All Night record did during that tour, even compared with the other people. We saw what happened with that record, and I always look for that. Even after all my shows in the States, I find it interesting how many CDs are always bought after the show, and not T-shirts and stuff, but it's the actual music, and that's when I feel like we're doing our job.
It's certainly some validation, isn't it? Because you've written or co-written all the songs.
Yeah, off both albums.
Both albums.
And I've probably written over 1,000 that have never been heard. So, yeah, I'm constantly writing. That's for sure.
I saw a tweet the other day about an acoustic album. You said if fans.
Man, I made a joke. One of the fan pages asked me about, because I do a acoustic VIP thing for my shows in the States. Which the way that I'll go about providing that on this tour is that I'll do a long acoustic set during the middle of the show.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of doing a VIP acoustic, I'll just do it for the whole damn crowd. So, but I think people have grown to really love that. And so they just asked me would I consider doing an acoustic record, and I just jokingly said, yeah, you get me, they said, how many retweets would it take? And I said, 10,000, just making a joke. Didn't think they'd get 10,000, but I'll be damned if the next couple of days there were 10,000. So I was like, well.
So when you recording it then?
Yeah, I know, right? I don't think people know how hard that is to do, especially when you're in the middle of making another project, that you can't just say, hey, let me go make an acoustic record. But what I can promise that before my music career is done, I will make a acoustic record.
Excellent.
That's a promise.
Excellent. I think that would be a real Kip Moore record.
For sure.
Set it on vinyl.
I will. I'm going to do this new record on vinyl. What I plan on doing is making, do a limited pressing with maybe 5,000 copies. And what I would do is only sell it at shows. It'd be a thing where you can only get the vinyl at a show.
Dirk Bentley, let's talk about him for a moment.
Yeah.
Because, again, when we saw you last year, you'd just been through the ice plunge.
And the goat incident.
The goat incident.
Yeah, the goat incident kind of turned bad.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I think he had a hard time getting the spray paint off of his truck. We put a film over it to where, you would think it was just going to stay on that, but a little bit of it stayed on his precious truck, and I felt bad about it. But man, I love that guy. We became buddies as the tour went on. It's interesting, man. I sometimes get in trouble for calling it like it is, and I don't sugarcoat things, and I say what's what and the way things really are. And a lot of times as artists, there's a shuck and jive, hey, what's up kind of thing, and people keep their artist cap on, and you never really get to truly know the person. And it's a big buddy scene, but not many people actually truly hang out and are true friends that know a lot about each other. And the cool thing about the Dirks tour was, at first I thought that's the way it would be. It just kind of seemed that way at first. It was just going to be, a hey, what's up kind of thing, one of those things again. And But we became friends as the tour went on, and I consider Dirk's an actual friend now, and I think that we got to know each other, and you know, a lot of times people can have that artist cap on as a protective guard, you know, and it kind of stays up. But he's a good dude. He's a good person. He's got a good heart, and I had a great time with him. Yeah, I had a really, really good time with that guy on the tour.
Yeah, you described him as the nicest guy in Nashville.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's just one of those people that's just a genuine good soul.
Okay, we're going to do some tunes with him at some point.
Maybe, man. You know, I love Dirk's music. So I mean, if he feels like doing it, I'll be down with it.
So, the new album, the new project, or whatever you want to call it, do we have any? I'm going to press you just a little bit.
He's not going to tell us.
It's you're going to get a lot of colors on this record.
Okay.
You're going to get a lot of musical influences on this record. You might hear a little bit of my Motown influences coming through on this record. You might hear some classic rock and roll influences on this record. You're going to hear, you know, a lot of the Wild Ones type of colors on this record. You know, I think it's going to hit you from a few different angles.
Okay. So influences. Who would you say is your greatest influences?
Jackson Browne, Springsteen. I would say, and Willie Nelson. I would say those are my Mount Rushmore influences. Yeah, Sam Cooke. I mean, Sam Cooke's, I never get tired of listening to him.
Yeah, there's some interesting influences there. And Springsteen's, you know, everybody talks about the heavy influence there. But you got Detroit's in there, isn't there?
Seeger's in there. Yeah, for sure.
And we're ice hockey fans. We're currently doing the ice hockey thing and watching Detroit get slaughtered, basically, mostly. But sort of, but we love ice hockey. We love American football. And during the
Voice made
season,
me cry.
Yeah.
But at the end of the American football season, you were tweeting a bit about that.
That was fun to watch, man. I was definitely pulling for the Broncos.
That was clear.
Yeah, I was pulling for the Broncos. But I mean, I thought what the Panthers did was amazing. I thought what Cam did was amazing. Yeah, I had a feeling that somebody was going to shut those antics up, though. I figured at some point somebody was going to quiet him down a little bit. But I thought what he did was spectacular during the year.
It was a good year, I think,
yeah,
for fans. You know,
yeah, it was great.
And I have to say, from a fan's perspective, it's nice when the people we're following actually give us a bit of that. As you said, come out from behind the shield a little bit and sort of give us a little bit of the real.
Yeah.
You know, Kip Moore in this particular instance.
And you know, in person, I try to always keep that down. I never want to have that. I try to just stay me at all times. Sometimes it gets me in a lot of trouble. But I do. I try to, you know, the same guy that's on stage is the same person that, you know, I'm probably a little more quiet off stage, but I don't feel like I have to turn into somebody else. You know, I'm pretty much an open canvas.
The Twitter is Kip in the flesh, yeah?
Yeah.
That kind of
maybe.
Yeah. People need to follow you. I think that's good. And it's so Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram?
Yeah, it's just at Kip Moore Music. There's a lot of impersonating ones, but the at Kip Moore Music is mine.
Is yours.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're going to get thousands more UK followers as a result of this little tour. Here in the UK, are the shows different? Do they feel different in any way?
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to say they're better or worse. It's just a different thing, man. It's a different culture here. It's the same way when I go to Canada. It's different than the U.S. or different than the UK, and Australia is different than those two. And I'm just generalizing here. It's not every person, but overall, it's just a different thing, man. I feel like the UK fans will articulate how they feel about your show in a different way. They absorb it in a different kind of way than a lot of the U.S. crowds will. But it's not a better or worse thing. It's just they see it through a different lens, and they're going to tell you all about your lyrics and stuff, which is awesome. I love that.
I'm told it can at times be a little intimidating, though. Sort of.
It can be. You know, there was a few times last year when I was here when I can remember singing, and I can remember seeing certain faces in the crowd that were looking at me with a very stoic expression, and I had no idea if they wanted to kick my ass off stage or they were into the show. I literally had no clue what was going through their head. And at the end of the show, you know, coming up to me and just being like, I was so moved by your set. Like, I can't wait to get your music, and I can't this song, and they knew details about the show and the music, and I'm thinking, really? You actually enjoyed that? Like, I had a completely different thing of what I thought was going in, but they were soaking it in. You know, it was so it can bring an insecurity to you while you're on stage because you think that people aren't into what you're doing. And I have a very high octane show, you know, and so when you're given that energy, and sometimes people are looking back at you expressionless, you can get kind of in your own head kind of fast. But I think knowing that better now this time around, you know, I'll understand that as I'm playing.
It's that English reserve. People sometimes have really struggle with that.
I don't have any of that.
She doesn't have that.
Yeah, and that's once again, it's a generalization because it wasn't that way. There were a lot of pockets that were going nuts during the show. Just overall in the U.S., it's just rowdy as hell from start to finish. The very obvious thing that they're having a good time, to where you're not having to wonder if they are, you know?
Yeah, they may well know your music differently.
Exactly. It's just absorbed in a different kind of way, you know? But I think this time around will be different than the last because these are my fans, my show, my crowd. And I think they're going to know the music and they're going to react differently now that they've had time to live with the record and know the songs as opposed to the last time through here. A lot of that was just because they were completely discovering me for the first time. So I kind of understood that too.
I think our Tuesday takeover would confirm that. It really did go absolutely ape. It was Kip's night on 2Country Radio, there's no doubt about that.
Awesome.
Kip, you know, I've asked you lots and lots of questions. Is there anything you would like to say now?
I'd just like to say how much I appreciate the way people have treated me over here, the way they've taken us in, and how grateful I am that they've responded to the music the way they have, because I care so much about what I do and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish and what I'm trying to say. So when there's fans that truly get that and respond to the music in the manner that I always hope for, it's pretty awesome. So I'm just glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here, man.
Yeah.
And can we do this again in about a year's time?
Next year. Next year.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Let's make this a yearly reunion.
I'm telling you, man. They tried to tell me it wasn't time to come over here. They said that they didn't know if we had a fan base to come back, and I said, I promise you we do.
Yeah.
So I had to convince, you know, my team that now's the time, and boy, did it was it a good move.
I mean, I'm speaking as a fan now, not as a radio presenter. You know, I couldn't wait for you to come back following this Country to Country appearance last year. Thank you so much. But thank you, my man.
You bet, buddy.
It's been fun.
You bet.
We play more music every hour, every day. Turn on, tune in. 2Country Radio.